story, guys? Welcome to another episode of What Happens Here, Las Vegas' newest sports entertainment program. I'm Marcus Deegan, your host. Thanks very much for joining us today on our podcast, episode 15 coming up. We're keeping it straight down the line with mixed martial artists today. Ladies and gentlemen, got a guy fighting all the way. Well, you know what? He's from Oregon, but he lives in Las Vegas now. I'm not sure where he is. He's somewhere around the world right now. This man has a record of 9 wins and 4 losses. He's got the skills. He's got the looks. He's got the class. UFC Bantamweight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to What Happens Here, Vince Morales. What's the story, brother?
Marcus, good to hear from you, brother.
Man, good to see you. It's been a minute, brother. I miss you.
It's been a while, man. Yeah.
I know. So well, thanks for joining. So where are you right now? Let everybody know where you are.
I'm over in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, kind of bouncing around a little bit. My cousin Ricky Simone just signed for a fight next Wednesday. So I'm here helping him get ready.
Awesome. So what's been going on during quarantine? You've obviously left Vegas when all this shit went down, and you're over there. Just you training and with the family.
Yeah, I was training so I went back to Boise for a bit. I kept training for as much as I can. Then needed a little extra cash, so I started working for one of my buddies that thankfully was one of the only places still operating. Like I was doing some landscaping and stuff. Saved up a little bit of cash, came over here to Portland to help out Ricky now, and just kind of taking things day by day, enjoying the ride.
It's kind of difficult for guys like yourself that are in the sport of mixed martial arts, not just in the sport, but it's your actual job. So kind of getting shut down on quarantine, is it hard for you to keep up your normal standard of training?
My normal standard, yes, but I always try to train. Like regardless, I'll figure something out. I just kind of have that mindset. So I've just been doing the best I can. Like where I stay at in Boise, we have a little garage with a heavy bag, a weight set, squat rack, the works really. We got speed ladders, battle ropes, so everything we need. So I can use all that accordingly and do the right stuff.
So just give everyone a little bit of a quick background about your career before you got your contract for the UFC. Where did you start? How many fights had you had? And were you with any other organizations?
So I did most of my I fought in like 5 or 6 different promotions, Bellator being one of them. Front Street Fights over in Boise, Idaho is a local regional promotion where I did most of my fights. I think like half my career's been there. And I was always kind of the outside guy, like because I was from Oregon fighting in Boise. So I was always fighting the Boise up-and-comers or the good guys. So I was the bad guy, really.
Yeah.
But I ended up winning a 145 championship belt over there. Didn't get a chance to defend that. I actually started a weight cut down because most of the guys ended up getting real big. So most guys ended up getting just big at 45. So I went down to 35, and then I had a shot in the Contender Series that I fell just a little short of. I don't know. Have you seen that fight?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that breaks my heart every now. It comes back up every now. I'm like, dang it. But thankfully I look good enough, and then fought in Bellator afterwards and won a fight that Sean Shelby, the matchmakers, my management, all thought I'd be a good fit in the UFC, and I got a shot on short notice against Song Yadong in China, nonetheless.
Now, that was your first fight was in China, right, when you made your debut for the UFC?
Yes, sir. Fighting a guy who I think he was on a 3-fight knockout streak, all performance bonuses. So he's been sleeping everybody. He's a monster.
So how many fights have you actually had in the UFC?
In the UFC, I've had 3. 3 now. So I fought Song Yadong, then I went and fought Eamon Zahabi in Canada, then I went and fought Benito Lopez over in California. So I keep fighting the hometown guys. I got that same theme that's been going for my entire career. I'm going and fighting the hometown people.
So, I mean, fighting alone in front of a bunch of people, there's a lot of pressure. But when you're in an organization like the UFC and you've got people like Bruce Buffer introducing you and you've got people all over the world watching you on the pay-per-view, what's the pressure like with that?
So I never try to think too much about that. I try to embrace all that. Like, I know the feelings, like it doesn't feel very good fight day. I just embrace it. It's all nervous energy. It's all trusting. I'm doing something I care about. So I just try to embrace all those, what would be negative feelings. Like, I just embrace it. In retrospect, I look back, I'm like, wow, this is the craziest thing I think I've ever done. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how I got here, but I wouldn't change it for anything, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's every mixed martial artist goal to be in the UFC. You know, when you're standing in that tunnel and you're about to walk out to that octagon, your music starts playing, you've got your coaches and all your team around you. How do you sustain that nervous energy? How do you keep that in without losing your mind before you walk out there? Because I can imagine that's just got to be borderline terrifying.
Yeah, it is. That's my least favorite and most favorite part of the whole thing. Like
Right.
it's right about to happen. You're sitting there in the tunnel, like you can hear the crowd, and I'm fighting the hometown people, so I'm getting booed every time, and I'm just like, man, I still like it. By the end of the night, everybody ends up loving me. So I'm like, oh, cool, I'll take it. Uh, Man, yeah, it's a crazy feeling. Definitely, I can't compare it to anything I've experienced elsewhere.
Now, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of sacrifices that come into being a mixed martial artist. When you're fighting in the UFC, you probably have to sacrifice a lot. You mentioned earlier on that you were fighting at 145, and then now you're down to bantamweight. Is there a reason? There's a reason for that, or is that because you don't want to do the 145 is too big? What's your reason for staying at the weight that you're at now?
So when I was fighting at 45, I wasn't cutting any weight. So naturally, like the guys that started fighting, like I'm all healthy during weigh-ins, and I'm seeing these guys that are all sunken and kind of looking unhealthy. I'm like, oh, I should be fine. And then we get into the cage, and all of a sudden they're almost 6 foot, 170 pounds, and I'm like, man, their size was making up for the skill difference. So I was like, if I want to be competitive, like as much as I hate cutting weight, I've got to at least do a little bit. I'm still one of the smaller guys at 35. So yeah, I start doing that now, and it's got me this far. So I'm just trusting it.
So you don't cut any weight at all for your fights. You walk around at the weight that you fight at.
When I was fighting at 45, yeah. Now
Yep.
that I'm at 35, I cut like when it's fight week, I'm cutting like 9 pounds or so. Still not a lot. Like I know a lot of people who are cutting like 20 pounds come fight week, and I'm like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you see these guys at the weigh-ins, and then they look completely different to what they do on the next day. What about injuries, man? Have you sustained many injuries in your career, and what's the deal with your fitness and your body structure right now? Is everything good?
Everything's great right now. I'm probably as injury free as I've ever been right now. Like for every single fight I've had, my last fight I went in there with a broken nose. The fight before that, I dislocated my elbow. Um, that short notice fight, I had knee surgery, and then just wasn't fully recovered from that yet. And I don't know. It's just there's always something. It's a rough sport. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a
know. I'm as
rough.
healthy as I can be right now.
So, I mean, what if, okay, you probably get asked this question all the time. And I got a bunch of fan questions that asked me a bunch. One of them was like, what's your future goals for your career? Where do you see yourself? Do you want to get that belt? Who do you see yourself fighting next?
um, Man, who I see myself fighting next, and who I'll probably end up fighting next are way different. I always try to look at the guys that are like top of the division. I'm looking at guys like Peter Yan is somebody I'd like to fight. That's somebody nobody wants to fight in the division. Aljamain Sterling, like a lot of those top like 15 guys, like I've kind of got my eyes on. Like that's who I'd like to fight next. I know
Yeah.
I got to pay my dues, especially coming off the decision last time. So I don't know. We'll see. I've had I've had like 4 fight offers that I've said yes to since the last fight. It just hasn't materialized, unfortunately.
All right. So let's ask a couple of these fan questions. Nathan wanted to know who you got for this weekend, Cejudo or Cruz?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know if Cruz's size is going to be the factor that I think it might be. Because I always pick against. So 2 things with the main event guys. I always pick against Ferguson, and I always pick against Cejudo, and they always win. I'm like, I don't know. So I've kind of been leaning towards Cruz, but he has had a layoff. But he's also a guy that doesn't believe in ring rust. So yeah, if you had gun to my head, I'm saying Cruz. But
Okay.
I might not.
One of the other fan questions, what's the main sacrifice for being in the UFC? What's one of the main things you have to sacrifice?
Time. Mostly it's time away from my family. Like moving to Vegas, I've got a little bit of family over there, but still I'm on such a go schedule over there that I really don't get much downtime. So time away from my family and junk food. Those are the biggest. I'm a big junk food person, man.
Yeah. Well, so what about your training facility? Where are you training in Vegas? Obviously up at the PI Institute.
Yeah, yep. That's it right now. We're kind of bouncing around everywhere, just kind of getting a feel for all the different bodies and stuff. Like I'm in Vegas, I'm the fight capital of the world, so I'm trying to like touch bases with everybody over there and just pick up anything I can from everybody.
So this weekend you're going to be watching the fights, obviously.
Dude, definitely. I'm so excited. I need some fights in my life right now.
Man, don't we all? Don't we all? Now, listen, bro.
Yeah.
So you fight at the you train at the Ultimate Performance Athletics Gym in Las Vegas, which is actually the same gym that I train at. And I remember when I first walked into that gym for the very first time, you know, when you walk into a new gym and you don't know anybody, you know, I was a little bit nervous, a little bit unsure. But you opened me with welcome arms, bro. You were so nice to me and made me feel so comfortable. So I just want to give you props to that. And I don't know if I ever thanked you for that, but I really do appreciate it. You know what, bro? You are a stellar. Not only are you a good guy, you've got the massive skill set. You've got a huge career ahead of you. And I see nothing but good things for you in the future, my friend. How can people find you? Where can they look for you online? What's the best place to find you?
Gotcha. Before I dig into that, thank you so much, Marcus. You're always been a pleasure to be around too. You know it. Yeah, I love your energy, man. The best spot's Instagram or Twitter at Vendetta135 is the best way to get a hold of me. But
we're going to put those right up the top of the screen there, guys. You're going to see it right here. Yeah. Hey, listen.
Yeah, that's gonna be the best way.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, Vince. Bro, I was honored to meet you, and we've actually trained together a couple of times. You did a bit of ground and pound 101 with me a couple of months ago. I can't wait to get back in the gym, man, and then I can't wait to sit down and have a couple of sips of proper 12 with you one day.
Yeah, I'm all about it, Marcus. I'll see you when I get back then.
Ladies and gentlemen, UFC Bantamweight Vince Morales, thanks for coming up on the show today, brother. I really appreciate it. I wish you nothing but the best for you and your family. And hurry up and get back in that octagon soon, my brother.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vince Morales. Hey guys, Marcus here. Today's episode was proudly sponsored by Team Guilty Clothing, Conquered Apparel, Rise Fight Gear, Molcata Clothing Wear. How could we forget Fit Guru Fight Retreats in Las Vegas? Of course, Wildcats for all your cannabis needs. And of course, Baller Balm for when your beard needs to be money. Today's episode was fueled by Proper 12, the finest, the tastiest liquid gold on the planet.